So I guess this is just going to be part 3 of my little impromptu series that I'm doing. And basically the whole point of this series is that, I really didn't see that many kids out trick-or-treating. And again, I grew up in Las Vegas, and maybe in Las Vegas there would just be more kids doing it for whatever reason, for this or that reason. But I don't really think that that's it. I don't think it's just because, I come from one region and, that's just how it was there. But here in this new region, it's just different. No, I don't think it's like that. I think there's something else going on here. This country is basically a dead country now. It's for the dead. And, maybe it's been like that for quite a while, for some time now. But it's basically like it's being made official now. Back 20, 15 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago, there may have been a lot more actual humans who were kids or who were maybe raising young kids. And to these actual humans, they used to do Halloween a lot more. Now don't get me wrong, Halloween's a satanic holiday, you shouldn't be doing it. But I'm doing this video because I know the reason why I didn't see a lot of kids tonight wasn't because I didn't go out trick-or-treating, by the way. I was just riding in my car. But the reason why I didn't see a lot of kids wasn't because people are just standing up to Satan or whatever. It's mainly because people just don't care. They're just so dead on the inside. They don't really even care to do Halloween. And a large part of that is, with these clones. These clones, they're really just fallen angels and demons in bodies that are pretending to be human. And to these clones, every day is Halloween. So what do they need a Halloween for? I mean, if you're a human, you might want a Halloween where you can pretend to be something for a given day. But if you're a clone, what do you need Halloween for? Every day is Halloween to you. So it's like, what's the point? And I don't know if you've looked at children who have been coming up in the last 10 years especially, but damn, these kids are not human. Most of them. You're going to have a really hard time finding a young kid nowadays who's human. Okay? When I was a kid, I was born in 91. When I was a kid, most kids weren't human then either. But there was at least a larger percentage of human kids. Maybe 1 in 4. 1 in 4, maybe 1 in 3. Maybe even we're human. 1 in 3 is probably a little high, to be honest. But maybe at least 1 in 4 were actual, real human children. Probably anywhere from 25 to 15%. But there were still a number of real human children, even back in the early 90s. And most of them have been cloned out, of course. But, I guess there's still a small remnant of them left. However many the number would have been, there was still more than there is now. Because now, if you either work with kids or, you have an extended family, so you see a lot of kids, you would probably just notice how very weird a lot of them are now. How fucked up some of them may look now. You don't really know what's going on. Well, what's going on is these kids aren't even human. And so you have a bunch of kids nowadays, and these kids are just a bunch of demons or fallen angels in human bodies. And it's like, well, what do we need? We don't even feel like celebrating Halloween anymore. Every day is Halloween. What's the point? You know, all of our friends are exactly like us. You know, I would say, no joke, I would say out of 100 children nowadays, maybe 1 or 2 would be human. Out of 100, okay, let me get more specific. Out of 100 8-year-old, or, you know, let's just say out of 100 6-year-old children nowadays in 2017, especially out of 100 4 or younger children, maybe 1 of them would be human, 1 or 2. That's it. It's very bad now. Because chances are, even if there was 1 human parent, their human parent probably married a clone, which is, you know, probably, I think, going to give birth to a non-human kid, clone kid. You know, I don't think a clone parent can give birth to a human kid, even if the human kid is, even if the human kid, no, I don't really think, I don't know for sure, you know, I'm just a human, I'm not God or Satan, who knows for sure, you know, I'm just a human, but I'm pretty sure you have a clone parent, human kid ain't gonna be human, but maybe, I don't know, but the point is, most kids nowadays aren't human. Maybe 1 or 2 out of 100 kids are human nowadays, and they don't have the enthusiasm. So you have like a bunch of fallen angels and demons who are like, you know, thousands of years old, and like, you know, you have a fallen angel or demon kid looking at their fallen angel or demon parent, and it's just like, what's the fucking point of going trick-or-treating? I mean, you're thousands of years old, really. Quit this shit out. Like, you know? Whereas if the kids were human, and if the parents were human, they might, you know, they might try a little more. But, yeah, man. You know what I did see, though? I mean, I'm not saying I didn't see any kids. I did see some of them, right? I did see some kids going out trick-or-treating, a few, some, right? But what I did see, I saw 3 trick-or-treaters. I wanted to say they were teenagers, but they probably weren't teenagers. They were probably in their early 20s, to be honest. I saw 3, you know, people like that, and then I saw maybe 3 different groups of adults who were like standing around in a circle in like their front yards. I did see that. So it's like, you know, a lot of these adults, I think, are more into Halloween than the kids. Because, you know, I would even see a lot of decorations, you know? I would see a lot of houses with, like, various Halloween lights and all this kind of crap. And I would see a lot of that going on. But I wouldn't see a lot of kids. So I would see a lot of these lights being put up by adults. And I saw 3 maybe different groups of adults standing around in a circle around what looked like a fire or something like that, seeming to talk, or maybe they were telling each other stories or something. But I didn't really see any kids. And I imagine those adults would have been like either mostly clones or like, you know, all clones or something. But still, it raises a point that adults, I think, are more into Halloween than a lot of kids are nowadays. I even think I saw a couple more adults going past me. Again, they look kind of like college age, either late teens or early 20s. I saw maybe a couple more of them, more than the other three that I saw. And yeah, a lot of those type of kids, well, they're not kids, a lot of those type of people, they were probably out, having Halloween parties. And I'm sure, after like pretending to trick or treat, a lot of these, adults, both from college age to probably some in their 30s, through their 30s, are probably going to various Halloween parties, right? That's a big thing now. It's been, a big thing for a while. I remember when I was like, in my late teens, early 20s, I remember people making a big deal about Halloween parties. I didn't even know Halloween parties was a thing. I literally just thought it was like Halloween was just a thing for kids, and then if you're an adult, you didn't really do that. But yeah, these adults are very much into Halloween parties and things like that. Now, that was a few years ago. I don't really know too much about how it is now, how much people are into Halloween parties now. But I know a few years ago at least, the Halloween parties was a very, very big part of it for adults. And, from the lights that I saw, to the adults I saw gathered around, to Halloween parties, it would certainly seem like Halloween is more celebrated by adults now than it is by actual kids. And, I imagine many of these adults are probably in their, probably born in the 90s to 80s. A lot of them. Maybe some of them in the 70s, but certainly. Okay. Do have a roommate. He isn't here right now, but kind of weird doing these videos. Well, anyway, I think a lot of these adults are probably born in the 90s to 80s, maybe some in the 70s. And, they have all these childhood memories that they still enjoy, they still look back on fondly, and they can't really let them go. And what's interesting is most of them today aren't human. How many of them back in the day would have been human? I mean, honestly, I have no idea. Because even when I look through yearbook photos, I see a lot of people who don't even look human. So it's hard to really know how many of them would have really been human. But certainly a number of them would have been human. But today, probably very few of them would have been human. I actually did see a couple real humans lately. And I think I've seen my first real human black man in quite a while. I don't really see too many human men anymore. I mean, it's kind of rare. I don't know what it is. It's kind of rare. I'll have to really do a video on that. But back on topic, these adults of now, these 20 and 30-something-year-old adults, whether they're human or not, they look back on like childhood experiences and they prefer them, I guess. And so maybe they just keep them alive with Halloween parties. And maybe Halloween parties is something that's been going on for longer than I give credit for. But certainly I know that these kids, these adults born, these adults born between the 80s and let's just say between the 70s and the 90s, I certainly know that these type of adults really do love their Halloween parties, and I think they like Halloween way more than the kids. And the kids nowadays, they could care less, really. I mean, they could just get candy anytime. And most of the kids aren't human anyway, so what do they need to dress up for? Every day is dress up for them. So, and also I think it just reflects how dead the nation really is right now. Real humans are less than 10% of the population, and who knows how much less. It could be way less. Real humans, you're gonna have a tough time finding them, and between the soulless parents and the soulless children, we just don't have many people caring about Halloween anymore. So yeah, man, it's real fucked up in the game. And again, don't get me wrong, Halloween is a terrible satanic holiday, and you shouldn't be celebrating it. So I'm not saying, it's bad necessarily, because I don't celebrate Halloween. I'm a Hebrew Israelite, so why would I? But I'm just saying the lack of children dressing up and going to get candy like I admittedly did when I was a kid. I just think it's a reflection of how dead the country is and society is right now. In 2017, I'm not saying, again, it's good for people not to be doing it. But I think people just aren't doing it because they just don't care about this society anymore. They don't care, like if they're a human, they don't care about really what goes on. They just kind of want it to end their life. And if they're a clone or whatever, a non-human, I guess they don't care about keeping the facade up anymore. And it's reflecting in very many ways. You can just tell how dead everything is nowadays. Go to a mall now and compare it, if you're old enough, to how it was 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Malls used to be the shit. Back in the 70s and the 80s and 90s, malls were the shit. Or even 10 years ago, malls were still the shit. Like, it was kind of thought, like, if you were a young person, like college, or maybe not college, but I mean, certainly high school age, and you wanted to find, like, a cute girl or whatever, you would go to the mall, right? Like, even 10 years ago, malls were the shit, and then, now they're not. And some of it is Amazon, but some of it is just how dead the nation is. Walk these streets, drive these streets, really look at the faces. I mean, it's just, it's dead everywhere. It's just dead. Sometimes you'll be driving, and it's damn near like you're the only one driving. I don't know. It's just, it's strange these days. We live in interesting times, don't we? It's very strange. It's just like an episode of The Twilight Zone every day. Just how dead society is. Well, I guess I'll just cover my Halloween experiences. Even though my mom was a Christian, and when I was younger, we actually did go to church a lot, we still did the whole Halloween thing. And, I dressed up and I got candy, and, we put stuff in the yard and we gave out candy. But, it wasn't much more than that. I mean,
for black folk, it really just is an excuse to dress up and get candy. And maybe that's true for a lot of other people as well. Some white people may go a little bit deeper into the quote-unquote spiritual meanings of Halloween, maybe a little more. But, you know, I remember, you know, the streets being filled with kids 20, 15 years ago. And maybe that was a Las Vegas thing. Maybe that was a neighborhood thing. But I get this feeling that pretty much everywhere it's going to be like what I experienced tonight, which is, you know, a lot of decorations, but not a lot of kids. You know, because basically, when you see in one place in the world today, you've pretty much seen them all. I mean, there's so many clones out there that it's just all the same for the most part. So yeah, man, that's my video. It just really reflects how dead America is nowadays. And again, Halloween is a satanic holiday. It should be celebrated. But the reason why you don't see people trick-or-treating isn't because of that. It's just because no one cares anymore. And, you know, that just is what it is. Well, this is my video. Look for more. And peace, guys.